Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to Nesby Reacts, where today we've got ourselves some tracks off an album titled Don't Stiff the Ferryman by Hounds and Jackals. And if we switch over to here, we've got ourselves the Bandcamp page for this. Gonna get the art nice and big on the screen there. Don't Stiff the Ferryman, definitely not a live set at the Club Sticks. The Bone Pickers, the jazz band from beyond. Now, before we get into this review, I want to provide a bit of context here because this is a very sort of unique project that I'm going to be checking out today. From the information I've been provided, the name of the initiative, Hounds and Jackals, comes from one of the oldest board games in human history, discovered in ancient Egypt, sometimes called the game of Hounds and Jackals. That alone ties together mythology, play, fate, and strategy core themes in everything that the creator creates. But there's more. Dogs are central to the project symbolically and practically. Hounds and Jackals actively promotes mental health awareness, creativity as the name bridge, as a healing force and support for service dogs, should I say, for people with PTSD and ASD. So the name bridges the ancient and the modern, the mythic and the therapeutic, the playful and the profound. At its heart, Hounds and Jackals is about storytelling across mediums, games, music, magic and interactive media, all working together to explore mental health and creativity in ways that are entertaining, immersive and a lot offbeat. So it's very different to a lot of the songs, EPs and albums that I review, in which case it's more, I'm not trying to say that other songs are just a song, but what I mean is there's like additional context to these and they're part of a more sort of like complicated tapestry, I suppose. Hounds and Jackals is a pack, not a solo act, multiple vocalists, musicians and specialists, all filtered through a shared aesthetic. The sound pulls heavily from classic film, television, animation and game music, then twists it through alternative jazz, rock, metal, ambient and experimental textures. And so this is just simply me providing a sort of a context before I get into it. The album Don't Stiff the Ferryman is created by a fictitious band called the Bone Pickers, the house band for Club Sticks, the spectral speakeasy hosted by Tom Who Waits. Each song is a dedication to a particular film or film genre of horror, with old classic music redone into a dark jazz style tone. Each vocalist I also gave a stage name beyond their actual stage names to fit with the theme. I say this because we're actually going to be watching some videos associated with this, so this is going to be a really interesting experience. I'm looking forward to hearing more. We're going to listen through 6 of these tracks from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Starting with Vimy Nix performing Cross at Club Sticks. Let's go, let's do it. Oh, the tension with that piano there. Gary Safali with the crowd, the door slamming before.
The sound being hauntingly beautiful. What do you do for an unliving?
Sorian Brandy Martin. Shake it, not stir. Welcome, my binoculars. You slip past the city's watchful eyes and into the shadows where the real night begins. Now we don't just sling cocktails here. We serve up souls, swing in a dash of trouble. And trouble, my friends, is on the menu tonight. Back in tonight's star, we've got our regular house band that'll shake your bones and steal your soul, if you still have it. The Bone Pickers, and now the voice you came to lose yourself to, a siren in silk, a storm in human form. Brace yourselves for Vimy Nix.
I've had and I've lost. It is all dead and buried. So then, I've had and I've lost. And you think I've gone insane, so dismiss all of my pain, sing all of my friends slain. Ooh, they've been slain. They are slain. 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 But then when the night falls, and you've missed the curtain call, you'll know baby. This one now is for sending your soul off to a little bit of that good old payback revenge. What I had, what was
Transition to the
slain,
percussion here.
and what I sell from the depths of my soul. The emptiness that bothered me. I used to think in tricks or treats I was a freak. But now it's easy, isn't it, to go full on back? Won't cut you no slack, it's the evil. Gotta fight the evil. Gotta give it my all that I've got. And I ain't got that much now, no. Ever since I sold it off, I said it, it used to bother me, yeah. But emptiness restored my dignity. To all those who cross me, you better remember what you've done. 'Cause when your time comes, and the time surely will come, I will corner you, I will remind you, I will destroy you.
Fantastic. Cute cat.
What do you mean that the picked up line is older than you? They thought you over 500 years old.
I love the sense of humor, man. Oh, that was so short. So many people involved with this, eh? Where the spirits are. What is the secret password? Find out at houndsandjackals.substack.com. It's so endearing, man.
Better watch out. Hell yeah. Because Gatsby didn't make it out alive either, did he now?
I love the sense of humor they have. I think that there's just something wonderful about the way that it's just so kind of, and I don't mean this in a patronizing way, like grassroots. Like, what I mean by that is it's professional, but like there's just so much passion put behind it as well there. There's no attempts made to try and sort of overcomplicate the production of it. I like the audiovisual experience. It's very unique. And so in this section, just to kind of add on to that last part, I'm going to be specifically focused on the track. I'm not as sort of knowledgeable about the sort of video production side of things. It's mostly just the audio for me. But what do we think that Cross is about? What do we think the song's about? Because I'm going to be providing overall song, like independent, should I say, song analysis. And I'm going to give my sort of overall thoughts in at the end. I like the 6 tracks as a collective, but I think that this track, Cross, is about how all of their friends have been slain. This woman who's singing at the bar. And I think that when, you know, having been stuck in this place now where they can't get at those they want to seek vengeance on, when those people do pass away, when their time comes, you know, Vimy Nix is going to annihilate them, basically. They're going to destroy them. It's basically her in that sort of lounge bar that with the jazz playing around it, singing until she gets the chance to get them into a corner and eviscerate them. And I think that it's done in such a way where, like, it's so wonderfully charismatic from a vocal perspective. There's this kind of suspense and drama to it that works so well for like a theatrical perspective there. We kind of need to act that out in this kind of environment there. It needs to be more like you need to be able to see the person expressing themselves in this situation there. You need to be able to imagine that there's kind of tension to it, like a Broadway hit. And it just helps that we're wonderfully kind of like competent as a singer there. We've got this fantastic kind of tone with our legato technique, wonderfully sort of comfortable on our head and chest voice. The vibratos that we have are like sultry and sexy. And the instrumental backing behind it is fantastic, don't get me wrong. I love the sophistication behind that, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. But it's just how we sort of carry ourselves, our confidence on the microphone as well. When we talk or when we kind of belt a little bit or get a bit more sort of intense there. It's just a interesting journey that we're going where we're never fully sure what's going to happen next. And there's some parts where almost like quiet white whisper cried, and other parts where there's a bit of kind of fry to our voice as well. We're acting out our feelings in a way that's believable and sells the story well. And I think the kind of the vocal harmonies, such as around the 3-minute 10 mark, are effective primarily because they add extra kind of influence and presence for the vocals within it. Like they add a slight bit of variation texturally to help them stand out and continue to keep things fresh. We go up our octaves with some of those harmonies as well to really explore, you know, the frequency spectrum there and make the most of what's available, because even though there's a lot of really interesting instrumental parts behind it, such as the keys and the drums and everything like that, they never try to attain prominence. I mean, sure, we have woodwinds and other elements there, of course, that are like sub-leads and stuff like that, and we have the keys. The keys are wonderfully articulate when they need to be, when they've got space to be it, but when Vimy Nix is talking there, they're not overshadowing her. You can still kind of focus on her without everything else being too much. And from that perspective, I kind of firmly see this piece as more through composed than anything else. We've got individual chapters that are meant to sort of relate more so to what we're trying to discuss here. I get the feeling that this entire album is more going to be sort of like adventure-based music rather than trying to sort of make kind of typical kind of like verse-chorus oriented kind of like more contemporary structures that we have in a lot of music. And I think that's a sensible decision here, you know. There's a wonderful unison rhythmically between the keys at the start there, with a tension and drama that comes from some of those discordant, uncomfortable notes in the low and higher ends. And like they kind of play around with the expectations of the listener, because some parts just sound sort of like dissonant there, and we're kind of waiting on either Vimy or the keys to resolve themselves. But they go with chromatics and stuff like that as well. We play the keys well, and it's a fine technique there, and rhythmically it's very satisfying, and it's a great accompaniment. But it's also incredibly kind of terse at parts there and almost sort of chaotic, like we're tumbling. When we finally have the double bass coming around the 2-minute 14 mark, it's a wonderful breath of fresh air in terms of the low end there, and it's got a great sort of throaty tone to it, great sense of presence alongside the kind of like more kind of upper end kind of like chilling keys, I suppose. Working with the brushes on the kit as well as the snare and kicks, it's well, not the brushes on the kicks, but you know what I mean, like the kind of jazzy influences of the sort of softer, kind of moodier kit there add a nice sort of chord note pace to the piece that allows Vimy Nix to do what they want to on top, because they've got the freedom of movement now to do so. I think some of like the kind of like the laser woodwinds or the brass there that are just coloring the remaining parts of the frequency spectrum, or the upper ranges that aren't colored by Vimy's vocals, or the keys there kind of decorating with the right hand playing a lot of interesting sort of modal passages there, some accents and moodier parts that sell the mood of, again, that lounge bar and, you know, and club sticks. It's just, it creates the aesthetic of what you'd expect from the kind of premise that was discussed at the start of the video. But like it switches things up as well. We're not just sticking at 1 meter. When we kind of pick things up about 2 minutes 50 there, we switch to a different sort of like tom fills, and it becomes a little bit more sort of bombastic and energetic. And with a shuffle there on the ride cymbals there, you're kind of really left in a wondering, oh, okay, have we gained sentience now? Are we kind of more excited about how we're going to sort of turn things around? We'll get the opportunity to do so. And I think that just, again, having the keys on the right hand in unison with the vocal parts, even if there are harmonies, just kind of creates a sense of connection between the start and this middle part of the piece there, to kind of let you know, hey, no, this is all the same song. Is that a clarinet as well or something like that I can hear in certain parts? Because just the fact that it's not an all the time thing, but like a different sort of texture to color outside of the main sort of chord note shuffle of the kit and the key parts, it's just a fun bit of adjustment there. It's almost like we needed further reinforcement of the highs to sort of like create that variety, especially when the vocals become more sort of spoken and melodic there. I think that's sensible. And the kind of the frenetic sort of like staccato of the keys around the 4-minute 9 mark, eliciting a sense of tension there, is very sort of like effective there. You're picking up the pace and there's a bit of danger involved. And just when we fade out of the song, you know, again, structurally, with Vimy Nix at the end there with that wonderful sort of tail, that final note there, allowing them to be by themselves, almost says that the band has given them their time to shine, despite the fact that the band has been wonderfully supportive and deserves just as much credit, I think. It just takes talent thematically to be able to combine those jazzy stylings with the extended chords, to modulate effectively when needed, you know, between different patterns, to go between those two root notes and kind of lift and then fall down again, to be able to combine the chromatics of what we had around the 2-minute mark there with the kind of ferocious sounding piano playing there, that kind of discomfort that's put forward there, to be able to soften that with the exquisite stylings of the sung parts there, is a wonderful sort of like, it's a stylistic choice there that I appreciate. just knowing how to meter and find equilibrium between these components and to then go into that kind of A-B side with the faster picking up the pace in the end, it just makes it a fun experience for sure. And it's a fantastic first impression, and just in terms of the studio production as well. I adore the way that things are handled in terms of the quality of the vocal performance, as well as, again, the keys, the brass, saxophones, the clarinet, or the kind of woodwinds there, the bass, the double bass, and the drums. Very authentic for the style of music that we're doing. Things are wonderfully, sort of like they surround you in the stereo field, music surrounds you in the headphones. As well as also, I should note, like the Foley, the spoken parts there, the use of the slamming doors, the crowd talking and stuff like that. I think generally the leveling is very good across this entire video. I'm really happy with that. There's dynamic range to it, nice and low without pumping, so the bus compression limiting is handled. I think the reverb tails on the vocals as well offer a bit of space within that bar to be able to appreciate the silence before people start clapping and applauding, and just, yeah, no, very, very good. And they can just sing really well, so there's absolutely no need to fix things in post. We have track number 2 now, Lorelei Lilac performing Oh Willow Waly at Club Sticks. Let us continue. Oh, question chord, very tense. Is that the theme we had previously? It is, isn't it? Or very similar.
What's a nice ghoul like you doing in a place like this?
Well, look at this. A room full of dreamers and deadbeats. Some of you came for the booze, some for the jazz. Most of you will leave with less of yourselves than you walked in with. But don't sweat it, sugar. What the night takes, it gives back in whispers. Name's Tom Who Waits. Don't mind the gravel in my throat. It's just the sound of last call echoing from a dozen lives ago. Now, before the floorboards start bleeding, let's call up our house ghouls, the bone pickers. On the haunted ivories, pale as a kiss from the grave, Yuki. On the horn, blowing hunger into every note, when dead. And on the tubs, hitting harder than claws on a coffin lid, Zevon. But don't get too cozy, kids. The real spell's about to drop. The songbird who can make a heart stop just by humming in a sleep. The velvet curse with a smile like smoke. Give your last breath to Lorelei Lilac.
I like the gravelly sound of the vocals. I'm getting most of the words through clearly. Ooh.
We lay, my love and I, beneath the weeping willow. But now alone I lie and weep beside the tree, singing, oh, willow, Waly, by the tree that weeps with me, singing, oh, willow, Waly, till my lover returns to me.
Oh, that chord is so much fun on the
My
piano.
love and I, beneath the weeping willow, a broken heart have I. Oh, willow, I die. Oh, willow, I
I love the different vocal layers. There's so much to pay attention to and appreciate. That ambiguity is palpable, man. What a sensational piece. I know that we've still got a bit to go on this, but just, it's poignant. Everyone has cats.
No, it's true. She bought me the drink. She said it was so nice to see someone like me be so confident. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
So Yuki on piano, Zevon on drums, as I mentioned, and Wendell on saxophone. So I assume that when I mentioned a clarinet, it was actually the saxophone. Where the spirits are. I like that play on words with the, you know, the bar and the Knicks, you know, club stick, should I say. I don't want to cover the club sticks. No prize. Explain why I like. Oh no, I missed it. What was that? As a time traveler. Sponsored by the Tendelocian of Panama. This is fascinating stuff. Oh, Willow Waly. I'm not sure about this track. I think it might be discussing a lover and her who maybe committed to die under a tree together. And she was the only one that did die. And so she's wondering when her lover will come to meet her. Only the willow tree and her, you know, died together or waving together. And it's kind of a very sort of sad affair, isn't it? You know, it makes sense considering the delivery of the vocals. Very proficient. We're finding some really great singers who are very sort of like comfortable in their vocal range and cover all the fundamentals in terms of technique there. And what I also liked here is that we didn't just sing, we also had like various sort of like layers. Sometimes we'd sing melodies, other times we'd be more sort of like padlock or harmonic. We'd spread around the stereo field to kind of elevate ourselves and make ourselves bigger in the mix as well, which I thought was really neat. But we also had a similar kind of meter and pitch or position that we're in, almost like we were really sort of calling out for this person in the only way that we knew how to. And the song has a steady pace to it where we express ourselves in a way where it seems like we are trying to play for the crowd, but also show our sadness or how kind of destitute the situation has made us. It's a great sense of loss that we feel, and I feel like it's expressed authentically. And again, we have that will I die part there, that play on words of oh willow I die there. It's kind of questioning what even got us to that point in the first place. Like we're kind of questioning why we did what we did, whether we actually, what our reality is. I love that we have a different subject matter in here, but because of the way that the audiovisual experience is designed, as well as the combination of instruments and the way that the songs are written and performed, you can hear that they're in a similar sort of environmental format. I feel like that's really sensible. I think the piano accompaniment through this piece with various verses and choruses is sensible there. There's a lot of minor and diminished turns. There's a lot of very uncomfortable chord choices here that mirror, I think, the depression that we're feeling about the situation that we're in. The sharpness of some of those kind of implies that we've had a very sort of unpleasant experience with this. But there's like this kind of almost kind of weirdly satisfying feedback loop we go through between, again, the drum, the saxophone, and the piano layers. There's like that kind of, the double bass is so sort of like stable in its range and so resolute in its purpose, you know, identifying its position within the, as a bass note of those different chords, whilst also being a foundation for what we're trying to do with, whilst also being a great rhythmic device, I think, you know, alongside some of the chord note stylings of the kit there, working again with the brushes as per the previous tracker. You're going to maybe start finding that some of my feedback is very similar to previous ones, simply because there's a lot of similarity between certain parts of the instrumental performances between these tracks, but I'll try to highlight the parts I find that kind of distinguish, if not else. I think that kind of slower shuffle here with us kind of stumbling through our kind of like newer reality makes sense there. If we'd had a faster tempo, it would have just seemed a little bit too sort of energetic for what we were trying to work ourselves through. I think the old-timey kind of vintage tone, the filtering on the keys there makes it sound like it is from like a horror film there, like it's our past that we're having to work ourselves through, and it's devastating. It makes it seem more or sound more cinematic, I should suppose. When we have the Willow I Die parts and there's just a crash and there's just that pause to allow Lorelei Lilac to utter that line there, it's so pressing. It kind of sounds so empty, like no one else is there to lift her up. And we just fade into the ether and then we go for another round. And we might add more vocal layers to it as we sort of try to ease our own suffering, but it doesn't remove the discomfort. You can still tell that the tension and discontent is palpable. And as we get the saxophone coming a bit later on there to sort of reinforce that mid-range and provide more variations sort of melodically as a sublet some of those vocal parts there, especially with, again, further staccatos and change in intensity of the key parts there, you know that we're not trying to sort of remove ourselves from the original theme too much. We're still trying to keep a sense of connection there, but also are aware of the length of the track and making things interesting for the listener, not relying on the original theme too much unchanged. And it's kind of a wistful, kind of misty tone to the saxophone as well, with the note choices being relatively respectful of a lot of what we're trying to do with those chord progressions there on the keys. I think I also mentioned a few kind of really wonderful question chords there. Now, I don't know the name of the chord off the top of my head. I could probably figure out I forgot this and kind of went to a keyboard, but just there's like a mixture of like, it could be like a seventh, I mean, it's definitely a seventh involved, but I think it extends beyond that. It could be like a minor 7 flat 5 or something like that. Or it also could be a modulation that just sounds like that through being a bit of a turn or something like that harmonically there. But it's one thing to be able to, I suppose, present chords that suit the genre and sort of requisite the emotional complexity of the situation. You know, like if you just put major or minor triads in here, it would have been a little bit sort of banal. But to then kind of like add those chords when we're asking these questions, it's just great sort of connection between those two, looking at the individual qualities of these parts and sort of elevating them through effect. And I like that as a final note around the 3:45 mark, we're kind of like humming and having this sort of portamento between the notes. It's just nice to have that tension as we move between those, not to do sort of straight transitions there. It adds a relative sense of smoothness alongside a lot of the other sort of like saxophone or other parts there. And it's just, it's effervescent. And that sort of question chord, I think, is done at the end as well as we kind of fade out, and it's we're just not sure. And I think that's the kind of what you'd expect in this situation there. Another very unique track, similar comments to studio production there. There's a little bit of kind of a filtering going on with some of the instruments within the mix that I think could just be like a bitrate thing or something like that, but otherwise very, very, very good. And it's just worth noting as well that these tracks are on Bandcamp as well if you want to check them out. So I'd recommend checking them out via Bandcamp because it's got a lot of other material here as well if you'd enjoy, if you like this stuff. But yeah, another singer who can clearly sing, doesn't need help in post. Very effective. So we've got track number 3, Demi Dusk performing Welcome to My House at Club Styx. Let us continue. What have we got next? Incredibly dramatic with those keys on the left hand.
If I wasn't already dead, I would have died, because my heart would have stopped the second I saw you.
Damn.
For the 5th time, I said I want a Bloody Mary. A Bloody Mary. Careful now. The room's got edges that move when you blink, and the shadows, they're sitting closer than the chairs. You in Club Styx, the last stop before the ferryman asks for change you ain't got. I'm Tom who waits. Been waiting so long I forgot what for. With me, serving their sentence for all eternity, we got our house phantom band, the Bone Pickers. But hush now, the room's getting colder. You feel that? Our star of tonight is about to appear, the one the mirrors refuse to show. Some say she drowned in her own shadow. Others swear they saw her step out with a crack between midnight and tomorrow. She ain't alive, but she sure as hell ain't dead. Her voice comes from the space between your breath and the silence after. And now, the Queen of Shadow, Demi Dusk.
I love these introductions. They're so interesting. The gap between midnight and tomorrow, dude. That's fascinating.
Welcome to my house. I'm delighted you could come. Welcome to my house. You is early, don't recall your stay when it is done. When it is done. If by chance you survive, no one has yet left alive. But don't let that trouble you, for we will have great fun. Think of me as your unseen host, with you in spirit.
Very cool response with the saxophone here.
Don't bother screaming, as no one will ever hear it. Alone in the dark of night, in flickering candlelight, on your doomed mission to discover my secrets. This house has stood for countless years, gifting guests with endless fears. Now it is time for you to enjoy your visit, my dears.
Is that it? That was so quick, dude. That was so succinct. That flew by. Man, that was effective. Dude, I got lost in that. Her voice is wonderful, dude. It's just so breathy and it's like mesmerizing, dude. Well played. Good effort. And got another kitty. Loving all the cats.
My pickup lines are a pain in the neck. Coming from you, I guess thank you.
Nice. Mario DK, Mario Dupont, as well as JO80. What is the secret password? Snack time. Absolutely. Always a good time for snacks. Man, what a special album. They're really committing to the bit, eh? I like the extra little bit of plot that we were kind of discussing at the start with Tom Who Waits, where they were discussing that these are people kind of waiting for the final decision to be made in their existence, with the band that's playing haven't already, their services or their sentences has already been decided to play at the club for all eternity. I think that this track, Welcome to My House, is more about going to a ghost's house, initially being a part of the stay, maybe never leaving. Yeah, the people haven't left alive. So you're going in there, but there's a lot of danger, you know, the unhost watching you. You're your unseen host, should I say. Don't bother screaming as no one will hear it. I mean, like a haunted hotel, a haunted house. I mean, I just think it's cool subject matter. It's a very different sort of like direction to the previous two tracks we've had, but that isn't an issue at all. I think it's just really fun music, really fun subject matter. I think the softness of the vocal performance sells it really well. I think if we'd had any harshness, it might not have sounded as kind of spooky, I suppose. It's that we most of the time have the double tracked vocals on the side of the stereo field that kind of whisper in your ear with literal whispers directly in the center of the stereo field occasionally. We have these sixth intervals on a lot of the vocal parts, and they're very kind of unsettling. But I kind of dig the approach there, because that's kind of the point if you're talking about a spooky house. You don't want it to be super comfortable. And then, you know, just the way that we sort of have less reverb than I was actually expecting on those vocal takes is almost like we're acknowledging that we have less low end and therefore don't need to make it any less sort of like of a physical property than it already is. And we split these harmonies around the stereo field as well, so they explore the headphones, but we have things in different positions going backwards and forths. And just, yeah, I feel like the vocals, again, it's just another strong performance here. We've chosen really competent sort of like people on the mic. This track is an interesting one because it has a lot of moments where there's like dead air, so to speak. It's like these notes, they rise, and then there's like a point to sort of ponder what's going to happen next. And we have these kind of like dissonances there where things just sound unresolved, almost like there's a tension of sort of horror or like discomfort across of it. But like it's still like ironically quite soothing when we have the vocal takes on top of the kind of the double bass that we have, the brushes with the kit. And the keys as well with some like bells or like melodic percussion on top or something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, if it's like a marimba or something like that, but like the ding ding, the little dings there, they're really neat. They're really sweet on that upper register there and add a kind of a hotel aesthetic to it, you know. We have a great sort of triplet feel to some of the tom passages or sort of like fill transitions there, where it's just a nice sort of like flip on a lot of the quarter note phrasing that we've had up until that point there. We have again our brushes and the piano wonderfully sort of like in time rhythmically with that, all the instruments kind of speeding up a little bit to make use of the space that's there outside of the vocal parts. The saxophone coming in to sort of do some cooler response parts a bit later on there, just to kind of add a bit of variety compositionally, but also to kind of mirror a separate maybe vocal line to what we had there without overplaying. And there's some interesting metering there where we don't like stick to like the kind of 4/4 element. I think we occasionally add a beat or two to kind of have that meter go into the next part. We manipulate the expectations of the groove there to suit our needs and add that those extra words. The fact that the track ends with those really sort of like uncertain key parts there, it's almost like you've come to the point of realizing how screwed you are being in that hotel and you're not sure what to do anymore. I like the laughing that we have at some parts, such as the 3-minute 14 mark there. It just kind of, after the having great fun part, but then you kind of see the individuals there, people having a terrible time. I know this is something you gather from watching this, but it's like the ghost is having fun, but the people aren't. It's like a confusion or like a deliberate sort of disunity there. I think ironically the harmony here is a little bit more sort of like simpler. A lot of the main sort of like bits of coloration or extension are put through the various piano parts and how they decorate with the right hand. The saxophone being an alt lead to the vocals is a smart move, the bass being more sort of supportive at that lower tempo there, and typically playing either quarters or eighths there. The drums being a bit more active when it needs to with the triplets, but not sort of like over-egging the pudding, so to speak. And there are these occasional tails on the vocals there with occasional vibratos there, but we're more sort of trying to be more straightforward, I think, because of the quality of the vocal harmonies. So ultimately, I think there's a nice sort of balance between a lot of the kind of efforts put in on the microphone, as well as everything else trying to be sort of like as colorful as that, whilst also adding a sort of, again, a sense of space with those parts where it is literally just the keys with those kind of stagnant isn't a fair word for it. You just feel like something bad is going to happen. There's like foreboding attached to it. And for the crash and the saxophone to lead us out there at the end there, you know, you're left with a feeling of just and so generally the track flies by, you know, without again overcomplicating the harmonies there. We have like almost a kind of a 12-bar bluesy kind of like attempt there with the way we modulate those kind of parts within the verse sections there, and It's a nice use of in time with no real estate, no wasted. The production's on point as well. Again, it's difficult to balance those vocal takes and multiple tracks in a way which doesn't sound like it's too much, but we've leveled stuff really effectively here, and there's also not a note out of place. It's just a really sort of like, it's a really elegant instrumental performance. Great chemistry. We have track number 4, Nigella Neal performing Not the Same at Club Sticks. Back with that opening skit.
So what if he has great hair? Listen, I can shower you with expensive gifts, cause I save not having to buy shampoo. Also, I will never have a bad hair day. Hello, I would love a procreate on the beach with a dash of human DNA, please.
Friends and fiends, welcome once more to Club Sticks, the only lounge this side of the void, where the jukebox takes quarters and souls, and the air tastes like dust from forgotten alien moons. I'm your croaking host, Tom, who waits, and this is our house band, the Bone Pickers, who are keeping the dark galaxy swinging. But the real singularity tonight is our star performer. They say her voice was first picked up by deep space satellites. Some call it a warning, but we call it tonight's entertainment. She's a siren from the event horizon. Once you hear her voice, there ain't no escape velocity. Welcome to cosmic terror in silken starlight. Nigella Neal.
Bells. Oh, the piano is so active. With some reverse takes. Well done. 4 for 4. Is the thing, right?
I got this toupee from an ancient ancestor's crypt. It's considered a family heirloom. Also, I know how to make ratatouille now.
Good effort. The far out dog. It's just so sensible to have these instrumental themes at the start and finish of these parts there so that it's just a seamless experience getting back into the universe that they're trying to create. One last thing. I got that. I got that one. Well done. Well done. So what do we think that this is about? Nigella Neal performing Not the Same at Club Sticks. I think that this track is about interstellar space travel and people coming back and not the same because they've either possessed by aliens or just it's kind of mutated or twisted them like horrifically. You know, like with parallels between a lot of different sort of horror movie material as discussed at the start. I mean, I can make sense of what they're going for here, and I think that there are spooky kind of uncomfortable ideas that are put forward here that work well. Like you can kind of imagine this kind of loop that they have musically echoing, like you're kind of getting lost in that haze of being sucked into that reality where you just become, I suppose, a slave to the parasite or something like that. There's this like massive foreboding left hand on the piano that's playing these low notes then. I think that they're rolling with augmenteds for some of these vocal melodies there, like fifths augmenteds to like the fourth or something like that, and it's very unsettling with that sharp 5. I like that. That's a smart move there, especially with the minor F chord there. It's really cool because it's just automatically an indicator of just how screwed you are when you hear that. You're like, oh, this is terrible, even though the sound, like the singer Nigella has this amazing vocal technique, very easy to listen to. We have those like kind of like these like siren like passages at the start there where they're mesmerizing and you get like lost in those, but then there's that kind of dreamy sort of like expression that continues past that, but then again that sharp 5 kind of snaps it out of it a little bit. It's very kind of like sci-fi horror, and the piano parts and a lot of the other instrumental elements kind of reinforce that, but it's just focusing on the vocals first. It's not just that we're comfortable in our vocal range, hidden choice voice, etc., and we're very sort of like polished on a microphone, but that we elicit that mood immediately. And it's also like the reverb tails and how we kind of simmer in the mix and kind of meld into it there, that kind of goop of consciousness there. That's a contrast to the previous track where it was a little bit drier, I suppose, to a certain extent maybe. And there's this constant kind of call and response with the kind of marimba or like the do playing whole tone scales. I think that's it. They're playing whole tone scales on some of those like right hand areas or upper register instruments, and it's very sort of surreal, like a dream sequence. And other parts where the keys go da 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 da, that kind of frenetic and just uncomfortable. Even the drums kind of pick up a little bit at some parts, but because of how misty and kind of like again like dreamlike everything is, like the cloud of it, it's just even if there are sort of like more intense parts, they never sound too intense, if that makes sense from like a dynamic perspective. You get that constant intensity there, regardless of whichever sort of like verse or chorus we do throughout the through composed experience there, regardless of whether we have that kind of like vocal layering sort of singing notes or harmonies as opposed to trying to do storytelling. It's just that kind of ominous like root note repeated on the left hand as we flutter upwards. And there's this constant again thud forward with the shuffle on the rides of the kick, like we're lumbering towards our end. Are there even triangles in this at some bit, like little like tingles? Because I think that's a really cool idea if that is the case. And like the little dings, like kind of melodic bell kind of dings on the left side there, and the stereo field are on a different side to the piano here, so they're kind of going between each other for attention there. You're kind of going to the sides of the stereo field being led by the nose. Sometimes the drums don't just play quarters though. They'll pick up a little bit and have like 16ths within a meter of the piece there, but they're usually ghost notes again to not be too intense. But that constant metronome-like approach to it is almost like a pendulum swinging back and forth, even if again there is that kind of discomfort from that sharp fifth there because it's repeated in a way where you kind of get like lost in it, it's satisfying regardless. So it's very interesting. That scream at the end that they have, like with that kind of the sample there, is just so visceral, and then Nigella like joining in with that is a great sort of twist. It's very clever. It snaps you out of that trance you're in, with some really cool tom fills as well on like the 408 mark there. I like that occasionally we get a bit of sass on the kit. And it's a very simple song, like thematically there. We kind of reiterate on that bum 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 bum. Like we are getting hypnotized by it. Like we're kind of getting lost in our own minds. I think that there have been some tracks with far more sort of like variety compositionally, like the very first track there, and to sort of adjust and have varying complexities here elicits our ability to both like, or at least demonstrates our ability to both, again, have that complexity and make it work between transitions, whilst also having a similar idea and kind of build on it to a length enough that it doesn't overstay its welcome, but is fascinating throughout the time it exists. Again, with that crescendo at the end, that kind of jump scare, very sensible stuff. And again, similar, I think just having that, again, that sample, that scream, that kind of build and volume over time. I'm not sure if that's literally how it is within the recording, but the original movie, should I say, but just, oh man, just beautiful. It's great to be able to sort of amalgamate that in there amongst everything else. It's just very, very cool. And you have this kind of like reverse takes as this the final note, and then there's the scream gets louder and louder, almost like you're realizing just how screwed up things are, and it's very kind of like, it's kind of horrific sounding, and that's kind of the point. So 4 for 4. We have track 5 now, Circe Salem, performing Justice Drowned at Clubsticks. A 7-minute piece, but I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it develops.
Madam, you're like 200 proof moonshine. Because you're smooth, dangerous, and way too strong for me to handle.
Call means boy. Okay, I'll get your regular orders. That's a death on the beach, one Jaeger bomb of eternal terror, one rotting congealed milkshake, and a flaming inferno of the damn shot. Will that be cash or tab?
I like the vocal modulation there.
Welcome down to Club Sticks, where the verdict's always guilty of having a good time. I'm your humble bailiff of bad habits, Tom Who Waits, and I'll keep our house band, the Bone Pickers, on the docket. Now the court is in session. You fine folks are the jury. The cocktail's your evidence, and every sway of your hips a sworn statement. But don't worry, the gals won't get you, yet. Tonight, we got a star who can turn a courtroom into a rumpus room. A spell slinger who will charm the judge, ex the jury, and make you beg for a mistrial just to hear one more note. So take the oath with a shot of gin and prepare to be bewitched. Ladies and gentlemen, I call to the stand, Circe Salem.
Great wordplay. Solid pipes. Where are we going with this stuff?
Now, sweet seed, the crashing tide, nothing left to hide. The case has been tried, although everyone lied. shifting sand. They crumble like dust through a guilty hand. For the tides of love do not care, blind to what's cruel, a fair condemned for sins they claim. I have done, yet all I did was try to save everyone.
Great trade-off here to the other instruments. Is this theme familiar? Oh. Oh, that was done. Oh. I need to go mingle and bust some moves. That cat was on a mission, dude.
And then she said, I was like whiskey that should be aged in a barrel. And then she put me in one.
Excellent. So this is a longer one. Where the spirits are. What is the secret password? Find out at Hounds and Jackals or something.
Okay. How do you want to split the bill?
Let's split it vertical.
Horizontal. No. I mean, pay up your tab. And stop killing patrons. You know the management's warned you about this before.
Notice an open window in the bathroom?
If you guys walk away and go to the washroom, we'll come back later.
Yeah. Well, anything else before you go?
There's one thing I'll be quitting to go.
Masha!
Sorry, mademoiselle. I told them it was pronounced sheesh.
Excellent. So, see, this is just good vibes. This is just really good vibes. Really good vibes, dude. And there's the album there. Fantastic work. Have a wonderful Halloween. Excellent. No, really well meted. Just really pleasant, friendly, awesome stuff. But what do we think Justice Drowned is about? I'm not really sure. I'm wondering whether it was a trial that just went horribly wrong. Cersei Salem, like the Salem witch trials, if I'm not mistaken, is that what this is about? The witches getting drowned? I could be mistaken. Hopefully I'm not too far off with that, but feel free to let me know if I am. With that, it was horrific. You know, the witch trials were horrific. So it makes for a fascinating subject matter, and it's very different to the previous chapter. Then again, all these are. They're individual sort of chapterized parts. They just niche well because, again, of the use of the musical themes at the start and finish, as well as the audiovisual aesthetic with like the different skeletons and the club sticks and everything like that. So it makes perfect sense to me. Vocally, I'm pretty happy with this one for the most part. Occasionally it kind of verged on getting a little bit too close to being a little bit maybe too superfluous with some of the vocal runs for me. It wasn't that they were done badly, because clearly Cersei Salem can sing. It's just more that I just wonder whether they were helping the music. But I think that by the time I got to the point where like I was comfortable in understanding where we're at with that stuff, we then kind of backed off and allowed there to be sort of like a sung or a more like sort of like a melodic vocal passage. We switched up the way we communicated there, so it was totally fine. I'm glad that occurred there, because I've reviewed some music in the past, you know, clearly separate to this, where like it's been a vocalist who's been a part of a project, and this is not a situation here, but in other projects I've heard people have made it about themselves. by their instrument being the most like pronounced or the most complex or something like that vocally. They do some crazy vocal stuff, and I just find it kind of is a little bit detrimental. It's like a team effort here. Everyone's doing really well. But we can clearly sing really neatly there. I think the style and delivery of the vocals suits the genre well. It's kind of sultry and very smooth there. And I do like the actual technique shown on display there. Being able to play those, sing those legato passages is really impressive. Now we do it very well on the microphone. And we have vocal range there, and we carry ourselves well as a singular element. And when we go into the kind of hum sort of like sung melodic parts around the 4:40 mark there, we melt into the mix really effectively, and it's a nice kind of contrast to a lot of the sort of like context earlier. And to be fair, we do that at the start as well. We introduce ourselves, we say our piece, and then we kind of hum ourselves out or sing ourselves out. I think that's sweet. It's effective, you know. We have a sort of a melodic theme established there that sets the scene for Justice Drowned. It's got that minor orient, which makes sense considering the subject matter. And the vocal harmonies that we have at the end of that tail show, we're going to have a bit more than meets the eye in terms of the single vocal layer, that we might have kind of a twist in the tail there that could be unpredictable. Again, we have a similar kind of movement to the double bass stylings there, accenting those quarters there, rolling between the root notes and other modal passages of the track there. I think the piano decorates really neatly and provides a nice sort of guide for some of the vocal parts, and it's just a fantastic accompaniment there, a consistent steady hand. There's almost kind of like a bluesy phrasing to some of those parts there, like we're kind of mourning the loss of something. We kind of modulate, as I've said modulate, switch those kind of chords or octaves down a step, etc., to kind of like filter our way down with a chord progression or like a melody that is satisfying, because it doesn't appear too often to be overplayed, but you can kind of, as a listener, kind of know where it's going, kind of hum along to it. Again, we have more of the kind of marimbas or kind of like a lot of percussion there. And that's kind of been a constant with the previous few tracks, and it's nice sort of textural contrast to the keys there, complementing each other well in a similar position in the frequency spectrum. I think the softness of the brushes on the drum kit are a sensible idea because it's not too aggressive there. It helps it to simmer within the ether. And the drums, again, with some triplet phrasings or sort of syncopated on-beat parts there, are typically, again, reinforcing the quarters that the double bass are, allowing, again, the marimba or like the mallet percussion and the keys to sort of decorate outside of the vocal parts or with it. Thematically, I think that the track retains a sense of a modicum of like leaning towards those minors, having occasional extensions but not trying to overcomplicate the mood too much. I think we are genuinely mourning something here. We're not trying to sort of confuse the listener with the tone of it. And I think that a lot of that expressional mood is carried by the desperation or sadness that is evoked by a lot of those vocal melodies, the way that Cersei Salem sings there. We're grieving. So I think it's the downfall of justice, I suppose, the dissolution of it, with the keys occasionally sort of like dancing upwards in the range there, do 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 do, in a steady pace that's either quarters or triplets. It's just, you have those main accents, a lot of sub layers, but nothing trying to sort of distract too much from the main vocal parts. I didn't mention this at the start though, just there's this wonderful intro to it, going back to it, where we kind of stick with the low notes and we just have the shuffle of the keys pushing us forward in the kit. And it's great because it just immediately sets the precedent that we are at a low point, that we are needing to either rise above it or kind of like accept it. There are some kind of like kind of flat fives that are played on the keys there in that second part just afterwards there to elicit a sense of tension and uncertainty, and we never go out of it. I like that it commits to the bit, you know, like there are, again, it's not like it's diminishing the entire song, but what I mean is that it lets you know early on, it foreshadows, and it doesn't sort of like bait and switch you. But generally, again, the production is wonderfully sound within this. Everything, the keys, remember, like the piano, the guitars, drums, and vocals are well leveled. There's not a note out of place. And I think, again, 5 for 5, really solid vocal performance. If we're going to have different singers, the risk can be that we find that one vocalist who just isn't able to sort of be at the stack at the rest. But I think they were very deliberate about how they chose the singers to be involved within this. And I typically feel, even though I mentioned earlier I wasn't 100% sure about like a lot of some of the tales there, I still feel like we had a good sort of like balance here, and I think these were sensible choices. But finally, last but not least, we have the Drakokto, that pronunciation was terrible, the Drakokto twins sing and dance the classic Strange Love song at Club Sticks. Let's do it. I'll try not to butcher the rest of the pronunciations of things. Hopefully everything up until now has been okay. But a 2 set. Oh, vampires.
People say I'm a wine barrel of fun. Blood, aren't you glad to have met me?
Coffee? Tea? Glass of sherry, perhaps? You'll enjoy Mr. Brownell. And he'll enjoy you.
You found your way back to Club Sticks, where the wine's as red as sin, and the candles drip like blood. I'm your rattling host, Tom, who waits, the coffer in the crypt.
I'm gonna miss this.
Along with our ghoulish house band, the Bone Pickers, clawed their way from the grave to keep you swaying. And now for our undead guests of honor. These Silent Sisters come from a very special bloodline, traced back to good old Mercala Kay herself. So if you feel lightheaded, it's not the booze. Their voices promise pleasure, but their fangs guarantee you pain. Lean in, let them taste your, attention. Now inviting the divas of eternal appetite, the Dracutor twins.
Strange love, silently stealing through the night, so concealing two hearts, suddenly feeling strange love. Strange love, tender and burdened love you've ever been.
So here's a fun fact about me. This isn't something I thought about before reviewing this. I tend to get faint at the sight of blood. So if you see me pause the video, it's simply because I tried to watch The Diary of a Vampire, an interview with a vampire, and I fainted while I was watching it. I hadn't thought about this beforehand. But if you see me pause and come back and I got a lump in my head, that's why. I don't know why I'm like this, but I am. And I just felt that for a moment. So I'm just going to sit here and chill.
Yearning how you ache to return this strange love, but you know it never can be, never can be.
At least you're getting a reaction, I suppose.
Strange love.
Oh man. The animosity with the keys is fantastic.
But you know it never can be, never can be. Strange
What a fantastic place to put a piano solo, dude. Brutal, dude. Well, I managed not to faint.
She was not glad to have met me. But at least I now smell like nice potpourri.
Excellent. Again. Trudy the Vampire, Fruit Bat. Oh man. It was cool to have different vocalists here kind of working together. That was a nice twist on the end of the piece. Okay, what's happening? What else?
Here we are at the From Dusk Till Dawn premiere. I asked Robert Rodriguez where the idea came from. He said, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So I asked how he got Quentin Tarantino on board, and he said, if I told you, Quentin Tarantino would kill me. What a pair.
It's a good movie. It's a very kind of, it's a fascinating movie. Is it the third cat? Damn it. Damn it, I know I've seen that cat. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and double check. I wasn't paying enough attention to the names. What is happening next though?
11:55. Almost midnight. Enough time for one more story. One more story before 12. Just to keep us warm.
I am so sorry. We could have been very late with this.
We were almost very late with this, Trudy. Why?
It was all my fault. I actually figured out that I like garlic. And you hate garlic.
I did hate garlic. In fact, it kills me.
Right. Well, the issue is, I gave the musicians, I gave them some.
What?
Yeah.
Give our musicians what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got some shit to do. Bye.
I apologize for swearing before. You're welcome. I respect these guys enough to watch through the whole thing. I realize that it's probably worth checking out the Hounds and Jackals YouTube channel, link in the description if you want to check out more of their work. But it's just some of the most unique, kind of fun content that I've seen on YouTube in quite a while. I love how homegrown it is, dude. I love how authentic it is. But we've got to review this track. I think that Strangelove is about a group of people who are, you know, clearly vampires, and it's like a forbidden kind of love there. That connection, you know. I mean, like, you think about a lot of vampire horror flicks, and it's about like seduction and like, so, you know, submission and everything like that. And like, there's not a real love to it. It's more like the vampire might act like they love you, but they really just want you for your blood and stuff like that. It's just kind of, or like, you're like a minion of the Dracula or something like that. And it's a kind of a surreal experience that I'm thankful that we don't have vampires in real life, because I would not be able to cope. I think it's a fun thing to finish an album on. I know there's more tracks to it than this. I think the actual album itself has, it does have 6 tracks. So there's like instrumentals for them as well, if I'm not mistaken. But so this is the entire album actually, which is cool. But like, I think these tracks are they're better for having these additional vocal performances here. We have another really comfortable, confident performance on top of the mic here, with like a soothing sensual performance on the singers involved there. Like they're calling out to you, kind of talking about the tender and burning love and everything like that, and it's very kind of like easy to listen to, and it works well within a lot of the softer layers within the piece. And when we have those vocal harmonies at 252, they layer on each other so effortlessly. It's like a point of tension there, but you know, it's quickly resolved as they go down with their intensity. When they go into their head voice around the 3-minute 25 mark and they flutter in the mix, and it's just it's exquisite with the vibrato and the technicality there. And they sort of, it's just great to have that coloration almost like a solo styling, because I think there were also some really kind of fantastic key parts here with a lot really quick parts on the right hand that were very sort of like decorative, and they managed to simultaneously fit in with the composition as a whole, whilst also you're showcasing their proficiency. And they're in different ranges, the two singers, the Druk Octo twins. And I like that because it makes them very distinct. They've got different vocal timbres as well. And it's not both of them at the same time either, so you don't get used to them too much. I feel like the novelty would wear off if you had too much of the same. And when we get into like the kind of like heavy sort of reverb, kind of like filtered parts around the 4-minute mark there, it just becomes a larger than life sort of experience there, where we really are preparing for a big finish. Structurally, I think we are going for different verses and choruses, though we do have a lot to appreciate outside of the vocals there. The instruments have room to breathe there. Drums are a bit more active in this one. We do stick with our kicks and snares and cymbal patterns though, but we have some interesting ambient syncopated parts, so we kind of flutter between the snares and sort of hi-hats and some tom patterns. And we like are very comfortable exploring the drum kit as well in this one. We're never too intense, like we do some ghost notes and sort of pianissimo stuff, but it's just enough to sort of fill in, sort of add variety. And the saxophone that's in the background there is almost kind of disconcerting occasionally, though. It's adding some sort of flats or minor sort of like notes into the overall harmony there that makes us seem very sort of uncertain of ourselves, which makes sense considering the subject matter. The double bass, more so foundational like in other tracks, very supportive of the main sort of like chord note groove of the piece with occasional eighth notes according to the swing. There were some really quick piano parts, as I mentioned there, that we kind of cascade or descend down these sort of like scales, or sort of like these triads there, and it's we're working with some sort of like tritonal kind of stuff there that almost makes it seem sort of very sort of feral or evil. But in other parts the piano goes sort of freeform and gets its own sort of source of life there in accents, and does some fast sort of octave or chordal parts there and kind of dances around the mix with the flames. I think we do again have some sort of mellow percussion in other parts, but like it's more sort of subtle here. Oh no, I can hear it. No, it's absolutely fine. So thematically, because I feel like we've got a lot of it covered there. Just, it's minor oriented with a lot of it kind of reminds me of like music from like 70s horror films and stuff like that. It's sort of, I'm nostalgic for a time where I wasn't alive and I'm not too familiar with. But I think it could also be the imagery, the parts of the movies that they show in these like backgrounds of these tracks. It's the instrumental choices as well there, I think, makes sense. And just the saxophone adding with a warm kind of glow to it, it's still mourning a sense of loss. It's still minor oriented, and it works at bum 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 bum. Is that another augmented again, just for a bit of kind of like it is though, but it's sweetened by the vocals and the saxophone as well as some of the innocence of those kind of like mellow percussion. So yeah, I think it's minor oriented, but try not to commit too much to the darkness of it. It's trying to be sort of like smart casual, I suppose. It's sort of phenomenal instrumental performance, very tight across the board there. Studio production is on point as well. Things are well leveled in the mix there. And it's just like how the double basses and everything are captured. It sounds like they're playing these instruments. It's got a great tone to the instruments. And it's basically a lot of what I've been saying throughout this entire review with individual sort of like track conclusions. Because I know this is a longer review at this point. I didn't intend for it to be this long. There's been a lot to talk about. But I've got no complaints whatsoever about the production. Anything I've said prior to this applies here. We're just capturing the merits of the individual singers we have alongside here, covering the harmony as well. Compositionally with different ranges makes it easier to record. It's just a great audiovisual experience. Lots of fun. We're going to talk about this album more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this album from an act named Hounds and Jackals, titled Don't Stiff the Ferryman. Now, in this section, I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on this album, as well as any sort of applicable constructive critique. It's going to be like a song analysis perspective, like not individual tracks. We've already sort of spoken about them individually in this review is long enough as it is. be my like thoughts on it from vocals through production, and then finally some of my general thoughts on it from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this album is about? I think this album is about different sort of like horror movie tropes or sort of concepts that are put into the perspective, as we discussed at the start, of being in the Club Styx, hosted by Tom Who Waits. They're exploring and introducing different angles of different horror films there, with those being, again, crossed, like being murdered and wanting to get revenge on people, Waly dying under the tree and wondering when the person's going to join you, Welcome to My House about like haunted houses and ghosts, stuff like that. Not the same about like the aliens and like parasites being transformed. Justice Drowned, which I think is about the Salem witch trials, like witches being drowned. And then Strange Love, Dark, you know, the Strange Love, I suppose, you know, about vampires, and then like the forbidden love between people and vampires, or like how the love is not the same. Look, it's basically that. I've spoken about the individual vocal performances across the board, and they're all wonderful. They had different meters and stylings to them, but there were no singers in this album who were unable to cover the fundamentals. They all had great sort of vocal technique, very comfortable in the head chest voice. There were legato passages and others. Sometimes they would sing just melodies or harmonies that harmonize themselves, or in the case of the 6th track, the Drac Octo Twins, you had like people working together, kind of like harmonizing with each other and being very sort of like aware of that. I think with the Bandcamp version, if I'm not mistaken, it says sung by Mina Midnight. I'm not sure if that's, but like it's very, very good. We typically sung in a way which made sense considering the subject matter. I think there was only one situation where I was wondering if some of the tales and sort of like articulations were a bit too much. I was trying to be doing a little bit too extra on that piece there. But I think as I listened to it again, I kind of like softened out a little. I was like, no, we're just trying to be a little bit explorative with these, and also there's still enough room for everything else to breathe, so it's totally fine. But generally the vocals across the board were very, very, very good. We sung melodies and harmonies that suited the instrumental backings really neatly. And we didn't need any help in post. We captured a great recording itself. These tracks were in the videos that we watched. They were between 5 and 7 minutes because of the different skits that we had. And I just want to sort of like mention that I thought the video skits were great. I like the sense of humor behind them. I like the production. I like the stylings. I thought that the consistency with the production, the branding of it was also good. It was nice to have the Foley and the different sort of like references, different horror flicks and stuff like that. It was very family friendly, and I think that's also sensible because if we're honest, like it's horror movies are just fun, and it's nice to. We don't need to make them edgy as well as like scary. I feel like this is a great way to kind of get more people into them, especially if it's like their first like horror movies or something, trying to sort of like find a new way to sort of like communicate them to like younger generations and stuff like that. I think it's very, very cool. But they don't do it in a way that kind of sells it out or softens it to an extent where it's kind of like disingenuous. And I think authenticity is the entire name of the game with this. But like, in terms of the structure of them, these tracks are between 2 and 3 minutes outside of it, so if you're looking for a shorter listen, just again, check out, again, the videos are great, but if you want to listen to the tracks by themselves, you can go on Bandcamp and check it out. And they typically had verses and choruses, and they had pianos and like marimba or like mallet percussion, as well as drums, double bass and saxophone. So if I was to, because I've spoken about the individual tracks and their approaches to things, if I was to talk about the individual instruments, I thought the piano was incredibly articulate, very comfortable with its right hand playing, a wide variety of melodies and arpeggios, and they were very comfortable with their dynamic range as well. Their intensity of certain notes and chords dependent on the situation there. They would play in time with the vocals, sometimes such as in cross, there we had a great unison rhythmically with that to sort of further enhance those notes. The left hand was very comfortable exploring just some root notes for a bit of a dire sound there, or would sort of like roll forward with extended kind of like chords there to sort of add a bit of sort of emotional complexity to it. Or to sort of, we even played around with lots of different chord progressions or different types of chords, although that's more of a thematic thing rather than a instrumental thing. But knowing how to play those and split them up and when to not overcomplicate a piano part is testament to the proficiency of the piano player themselves. The double bass was nice and throaty and rich, and had a fantastic tone to it. Great sort of attention to detail in terms of knowing to stick to the groove, to stick to the chord notes, to have eighths occasionally, but not to overplay, to have a presence that was very supportive alongside the drums for the most part. And just when it was there, you noticed it. When it wasn't there, you definitely did as well. And there were just moments, it made it very authentic for the what they were describing within the video there, the lounge, the club. You can imagine someone like playing, you know, the double bass there. It's very, very good. The saxophone was nice and fragrant. It had a great mid-range resonance and glow that either supported a lot of the triads or note decisions that were played in the harmonies, or had its own voicing, or did call and responses with the vocals, or sort of like explored the very sort of like jazz modes, or chromatics, or sort of diatonics that were on display there. It had their own personality occasionally. Other times it was a sub-lead, but just more often than not, you're just sitting there going, yeah, no, I think that sounds, again, sort of jazzy. It's also respecting the timbre, the mood, or the quality of what the other piano parts and marimbas were doing there. With the marimba, like the melodic percussion, just being a nice little chime on top there that enhanced some of those upper notes were played on the keys, whilst also playing counter melodies to that to sort of maybe be a little bit different, add a sense of dissonance within the piece there. I liked that there was less and more. Sometimes the piano would just be by itself. Sometimes we had the whole band, and these would switch as we went through each song there, not allowing ourselves to have too much of the same thing. The drums as a closing note were really solid. Like, we completely play the kit. We understand how to use our brushes. The main sort of components were the kicks, the snares, as well as the cymbals, and they were handled very neatly. I went through that thinking, yeah, no, this is exactly how I want it to sound. This is very, very good. This is very positive. You know, like, we've got a nice organic kind of tone that's suitable for the genre, but that also isn't too intense and overwhelming for people wanting to listen to the vocals. That we're not trying to make an EDM track here. So I hear this and I think, okay, what next? What else do we do? And we had some sort of triplet or chord note fills and accents there that just were very special. They're very special, primarily because they weren't an all the time thing. We didn't take the drum kit for granted. When it did something a bit extra with some sort of 16ths or triplets, they were like, oh, it's filling up space. Oh, it's got some little kind of finicky kind of tom bits. Oh, but they were usually ghost notes, and they were tasteful and tactful. Tasteful and showed tact and like respect for a lot of the other sort of main leads or sub leads there. Thematically, outside of just a really competent instrumental performance without a note out of place there, we explored a wide range of different majors and minors and sort of augmented. I don't hear augmenteds that much. Some sharp fifths in there, but we had some sharp fifth patches such as, I think, in Not the Same there. It was very spooky sounding because of that. There were a lot of tritones, of course, with how dire and horrific those are, as well as some interesting question chords that went into some like flat diminished sevens or something like that, but like, or maybe minor seven, oh, hang on, would it be like minor major 7 or something like that? I'm not sure, but like, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome. Some of the intervals we had with the vocals were like 6. We played with a lot of different types of, but it never felt superfluous. It typically suited the mood we were going for, worked well within the core genre that tied the tracks together, was believable as a live performance. And whether we were playing chromatics or not, it was, especially with tracks like Cross, where it was a roller coaster, we really knew both how to have a more sort of straightforward through composed piece, or like a contemporary piece with verses and choruses, or have adventures. Whatever we did, it was proficient. Like, we understand the fundamentals and more. And then it's just the studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering, where I just think the vocals, whether they are the mains or the sides or the captured or the kind of like filtered parts, there was more sort of misty and reverb and echoey. Whatever we were doing with those segged well in the mix. And typically, like, there was the track Welcome to My House, where it sounded very kind of ghostly, but it had a lack of reverb in there, I think, at some parts, aside from when we really wanted to sort of like wail away. And other tracks there with the Siren one, it was more sort of mesmerizing, I suppose, because of the reverb tails and other parts. We knew to kind of that less was more when required. We didn't overproduce the vocals because the people involved could clearly sing. The keys, drums, double bass, the piano, the marimba, etc., saxophone, they were nicely niched within the freak spectrum, no word resonant frequencies, as well as the stereo field, the music surrounded you in the headphones. There was dynamic range to this and fade outs and moments of pause, like a Willy Waly, where like when the singer would just kind of call out, by Lorelei, like, they'd call out and it'd just be like, it would hang there. And that's a compositional thing as well as a production thing. But just knowing when to stop, when to let things sort of simmer in the ether it just takes time to figure that out, and I got that here. And it's just the studio recording, mixing and mastering where it's nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression limiting is handled. Like, there's a pulse to the kick, but it's not too much. Again, I say this with with full seriousness, this is very good music. I do like a lot of what we're trying to accomplish here, and I think that there's no real applicable constructive critique. Again, the closest I got to that was being sort of 50-50 on the tales of some of the parts and Justice Drowned, but even then, I think everyone here did well. From a general listener's perspective, this is some of the most unique music I've listened to during my time doing music reviews, with no exaggeration. And it was an absolute pleasure to check out. It's just so cool to hear people trying to do different things and to just have fun with music. In a day and age where I think people genuinely overcomplicate things and make themselves miserable by trying to either reach a sound that they are not entitled to, or trying to make something that just doesn't exist because perfection is just its own sort of personal hell. I love that we've made this music true to ourselves and artistic vision, and it sounds fantastic. And I wish them all the best of luck in future. This is a great cause. Because thank you for watching my review of this album from an act named Hounds and Jackals titled Don't Stiff the Ferryman. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and their Bandcamp as well as their YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.